He then woke up on a stretcher covered in blood, struggling to answer questions from the paramedics. The attack left Skip with 3 fractured ribs and a bleeding on the brain. And the pictures...
If you target an old person, you weak as shit, bro.
Oh, what's up? Oh, what's up?
What up, it's Maj back here with another video. Today we're about to be watching a video by Blackie Speaks. The video is going to be on why, well, this rapper is locked up until 2099. Damn. Rappers Tay-K, bro. We already know a bundle of reasons why this nigga is locked up, bro. This nigga has so much potential, bro. Yeah, so much potential. I mean, even the fact if this nigga didn't blow up by the race and, like, you know, people didn't learn the whole situations about what he did, if he just had a regular come up, I think his sound would have been like fire, bro. I think his whole little sound of how he made music would have been really cool, but like, turns out he was really about what he did in his songs, like robbing people, you know, stealing, killing, and other shit, bro. But like, you know, the true reasons behind all this shit of what he did, bro, we know he really deserved this sentence, bro. We could just only hope to, you know, what he would be. But hey, if you guys are new to this, new to my channel, like, and you like my reactions, like and subscribe. We are on the road to 600, and let's get into the video.
Now, back in 2017, a 17-year-old rapper made national headlines, not for his music, but for running from the law. His name was Tay-K, and his projected release date is 2099. A year so far away, it doesn't even feel real. But that's not the full story, because he's actually eligible for parole in 2049, when he'll be in his late 40s. So how did we even get to this point? How does a 17-year-old rising rapper end up facing a timeline like that? Let's go back to 2017. The same year I actually started posting videos on YouTube. A story was starting to spread about a teenager on a run from the police. And what made it shocking wasn't just that he was running. It was...
Yo, does this nigga Blackie Speaks like have like fake hair or something, or am I like missing something? Because like, I could have sworn in the other videos I reacted to probably like a couple of videos ago he had a fro. I don't know
what he was accused of. Authorities said he was connected to a series of violent crimes, including a home invasion in 2016 that left a young father dead. While on a run, he was accused of beating and robbing an elderly man in a park. Then prosecutors said he was the trigger man in the attempted robbery that led to the death of a young photographer. And in another case, he was in the car when a 20-year-old university student was shot and killed by one of his friends. Before that, the men in the car had made sexual comments towards women in another vehicle, and moments later, that same friend, a former Marine, opened fire, killing an innocent young woman. The same young woman inside the car they made those comments to. And while all this had happened, this teenage rapper was blowing up in hip-hop. His music was gaining traction, and he was even getting shout-outs from major artists like Travis Scott. Tay-K was young, reckless, and rising fast. But the story that followed wasn't a rap come-up. It was about death, destruction, and the price of fame. Almost a decade later, after already being sentenced to 55 years for one murder in 2019, he was hit with an additional 80-year sentence. So the question is, how did all of this unfold? Let me walk you through it. Tamor McIntyre, better known as Tay-K, is a 25-year-old rapper, born in Long Beach, California, but raised in Arlington, Texas. Tay-K spent the first 8 years of his life in Long Beach, Cali. Eventually, his mother moved him and his sister to Las Vegas, Nevada, where they stayed for about a year and a half. After his father was released from prison, he relocated them to Arlington, Texas, hoping to give his kids a better environment and a fresh start. But despite the move, Tay-K's early life was far from stable. Him and his sister grew up...
And this was probably like the worst state to like do all this shit in, bro. And being on a run... these niggas in Texas have no sympathy, no type, like, you know, shit for their law, bro. I wish they had this type of shit in Cali, bro. But I wish they had these, you know, the type of rules and laws that they do in Texas. Because like in Cali, bro, you can defend yourself. Well, you know, I mean, I know I'm going off subject. You could defend yourself with a gun, and you could probably be the one to go to jail. That a nigga can break in your house and you literally can really fucking do shit about it. You could probably end up going to jail for it, defending your family. But nigga, yeah, I like what they have for criminals over there, because the shit's out of control. They soft in Cali, man.
In a household troubled by trauma, instability, and survival. Both parents had ties to gang culture, and the chaos that came with that lifestyle followed them wherever they went.
Long Beach is a real, it's a Crip neighborhood. Like, is your parents gang related?
Yeah, nigga, my mama insane. You don't listen to my music?
Yeah, now is that how you know how to throw the hint? The gang sign so good? It's so fluent?
I mean, yeah.
All of that took a real toll on a young Tay-K. Life at home was all over the place, unstable, unpredictable, and honestly not so safe. As a result, they spent a large part of their early years in and out of the foster care system, bouncing between environments that often felt just as broken as the one they came from.
Kind of stayed in different foster homes, you know, bouncing around. We stayed in Las Vegas. That's where we were in foster care at. But
Tay-K started his rap career as part of a group called Daytona Boys, alongside Jalen Bell, also known as Pimpies, and Eric Johnson, who went by the name Santana Sage. Santana Sage is the person who killed that innocent young woman. We'll get to that in a second. The group released a handful of tracks on SoundCloud.
This nigga must have had like a good, well, not good, sorry. This nigga must have had like a deep impact on fucking Tay-K, because this motherfucker named his whole album after him, Santana's World. That's the only album he got out right now, but like, nigga, oh, not right now. He's not releasing no more albums because he can't even get out of jail to get to the what's the name, bro.
And try building a local buzz by performing at parties and small events around the Arlington area. They were young, hungry, and determined to make a name for themselves in the underground rap scene. The collective didn't, however, find much success, and Tay-K, who was still passionate about music, began focusing on his solo career. He started uploading his songs to SoundCloud and started getting attention locally. But while he was still dropping music on SoundCloud and trying to make a name for himself, behind the music, trouble was brewing. Tay-K's name was about to go from local buzz to national headlines, but not for the reason he hoped. It all started on New Year's Day 2016, the kind of night where everyone's celebrating a fresh start, countdowns, parties, friends heading home with music still playing in their ads. But by the time the sun came up, someone was dead. Tay-K was identified as one of the backseat passengers in a dark-colored SUV that was involved in the fatal shooting of a 20-year-old college student, Sarah Muchlechner, in Denton, Texas. Sarah at the time had been driving her friends home after a New Year's Eve party. According to police, she was the designated driver that night. However, as they were driving, a dark-colored SUV carrying Tay-K himself and several other people then pulled up next to the car Sarah was driving, and witnesses said the men inside made derogatory sexual comments toward the women in Sarah's car. A verbal exchange broke out, and moments later, the driver, later identified as Eric Santana Sage Johnson, pulled out a handgun and opened fire. Sarah was shot in the head, lost control of her vehicle, and crashed into another car and a pole. She died shortly after. Now, Tay-K wasn't the one who pulled the trigger in this situation right here, and as a matter of fact, he didn't really face any type of charges for it. But witnesses said they noticed someone else in the car, a young-looking man with braces who didn't look older than 16. That person was Tay-K. His name appeared in the official police affidavit, and witnesses even confirmed his identity through his...
in this occasion, I can't even say where was this nigga's parents, bro. Because they both were gangbangers, bro. Growing up into this fucking life is just not for the fucking weak. And him probably like, you know, seeing somebody get shot is just... He probably thought it was just another fucking day because his parents probably was involved in some other crazy shit, bro. And like, you could tell because his sister raised him, and well, his sister raised him toward like the, you know, latter life, you know, probably after this. But nigga, bro, this is just sad. This is sad to see, bro, because like you seen this shit go down from like this young of a age, and you don't know what to think. And then I don't know how they were still letting this nigga hang out with it. Like these niggas, Santana Sage and whatever that nigga named Pimpies. These seem like grown older niggas.
His Twitter account. According to investigators, Tay-K was sitting in the backseat of the SUV when it all happened. The shooter, 21-year-old U.S. Marine Eric Jamal Johnson, was later arrested in Yuma, Arizona, after authorities say he admitted to the killing.
This surveillance video, obtained by our Dallas station KTVT, appears to capture the moments after Sarah Muchlechner was shot around 2 a.m. on New Year's Day. The first car, the suspect's dark-colored SUV, speeds away as the student sedan is seen moments before it crashes. On Tuesday, U.S. Marshals arrested Marine Corporal Eric Jamal Johnson.
Johnson was later found guilty of murder and sentenced to 44 years in prison. For Tay-K, this was the first time his name had ever been tied to a murder investigation. However, it wouldn't be the last.
You know what's fucking crazy? Like he ended up getting like more fucking years in prison than this nigga. So he's just worse than he turned out to be worse than like both Pimpies and whatever Santana. Because like this nigga just probably like learned from them and like probably like learned this shit was just like straight up it, bro. Oh, man.
It was only the beginning. Just 6 months after the Sarah Muchlechner shooting, Tay-K found himself in even deeper trouble, this time as a direct participant. It happened on the night of July 26, 2016 in Mansfield, Texas. Police say Tay-K was part of a crew that orchestrated a planned home invasion robbery, targeting drugs and money. Two girls, Megan Holt and Ariana Barrett, were sent to a house on Aspen Court to set it up. They had been invited by the resident under the impression they were just there to spend time together, but that wasn't actually the plan. While inside, the girls began acting strangely, going in and out of the room and sending suspicious texts. One of the texts in their group chat read, "Hit a lick." One of the women allegedly unlocked the front door, allowing several armed suspects, including Tay-K, to burst in. Inside the house were 21-year-old Ethan Walker, his roommate Zachary Belote, and others. The robbers demanded money, cell phones, and drugs. Then as they fled, shots were fired. Ethan Walker was hit. He had his hands in the air, and he was unarmed, defenseless. Ethan later died in the hospital. Zachary Belote, the roommate, was...
That's really fucked up, bro. Like, they had their hands up and they weren't even armed. What was the point of even shooting these people? Innocent people at that point. They probably just invited some girls, thought it was going to be regular. See, that's like you can't just be trusting regular girls anymore, because those bitches are like the setup.
Also shot in the shoulder during a struggle, but survived. According to witnesses, the women ran out of the house behind the robbers and fled the scene in one of the women's car. Police were called at 10:40 p.m. that evening. Ethan Walker was pronounced dead less than an hour later at 11:29 p.m. The case moved fast, and all of the suspects, including Tay-K, who was only 16 at the time, were all arrested. He was charged with capital murder, and a judge later ruled he would be tried as an adult. Eventually, Tay-K was released on house arrest and had to wear an ankle monitor in order to wait for trial, but Tay-K had other plans. On March 27, 2017, he cut off his ankle monitor and disappeared, and he didn't go quietly. That same day, Tay-K actually tweeted, "F this house arrest, F12, they're gonna have to catch me on hood." With that post, Tay-K made it clear he was not planning on coming back. He was officially on the run. And while he was on the run, things only got worse. That spring, on April 23, 2017, 23-year-old Mark Anthony Saldivar was shot and killed in a Chick-fil-A parking lot. According to investigators, Tay-K, just 16 at the time, had arranged a meetup with Saldivar, who was a local photographer. The story was that Tay-K wanted new promo shots for a song he was working on, but according to prosecutors, it was never just a photo shoot. They say Tay-K tried to rob Saldivar, and when he fought back, the situation turned deadly. Police said Saldivar was in a dark-colored four-door sedan with Tay-K and several others when an argument broke out inside the car. At some point, Saldivar got out, climbed on the hood, and kicked the windshield. That's when someone inside the vehicle leaned out, Tay-K, and he shot him. Saldivar's body was left in the parking lot. Tay-K and the others ditched the car nearby and were picked up, disappearing once again. Surveillance footage was released by San Antonio police just days later as authorities searched for the suspects.
Bro, it's crazy because like people back in 2017, when they heard this nigga story, heard this nigga doing a race and, or heard the song and got hyped up off it because it sounded good as shit, they didn't truly know the crazy shit this nigga actually really did. They didn't know the whole thing. They just saying like free Tay-K, free this, and then as soon as they know what he did, it wasn't no free Tay-K no more, bro. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people. Enjoying the race song, and then until I heard what the hell he did, I'm like, yo, this motherfucker's insane.
Reward was offered for information. While on a run, Tay-K wasn't just laying low, he was still making reckless decisions, and one of them nearly cost an older man's life. On May 25, 2017, Skip Pepe, 65 at the time, was out for his regular walk through Cravens Park in Arlington. It was peaceful and quiet until he realized he wasn't alone. At one point during his walk, Skip heard somebody say, "Give me your wallet." When he turned around, he saw a young man holding a gun. That young man was allegedly Tay-K. He said, "Give me your wallet, I have a gun." Skip tried to walk away, but before he could, the poor old man was knocked to the ground. The last thing he remembered was bracing for the fall. Then everything just went black.
Oh, man.
He then woke up on a stretcher covered in blood, struggling to answer questions from the paramedics. The attack left Skip with 3 fractured ribs and a bleeding on the brain. And the pictures were brutal. Obviously, so graphic and so brutal to the point where I can't actually show you the raw photos. It was absolutely senseless. At this point in the story, Tay-K had already been tied to multiple murder investigations. But
man, I know people that are old have been robbed in the past, but if you target an old person, you weak as shit, bro. Nigga, come on, bro. What's the point of that? Were you running low on money while you was on the run, bro? It was really no reason to rob this old man, bro. I'm glad he got convicted for that charge too, because that's just some lame shit.
Clock was ticking, and soon the authorities were eventually gonna catch up with him. During the same stretch of time, while he was still on the run, Tay-K recorded a song that would change everything. It was called The Race. He recorded it just weeks before being captured and released it on June 30, 2017, the exact same day U.S. Marshals finally caught him. The timing wasn't a coincidence. The lyrics openly bragged about fleeing from the police. He even filmed the music video standing in front of his own wanted poster. He was literally documenting himself running from the law in real time. So for him, it wasn't just music, it was a statement. And for good or worse, it ended up connecting with hip hop, right? For all the wrong reasons. Because here's a teenager actually living the violent life he rapped about, and instead of concern, it unfortunately turned into entertainment. However, on June 30, 2017 in New Jersey, US Marshals ended up locating Tay-K and took him into custody. And that was the last time Tay-K would ever be in the free world again. At this point, Tay-K was the talk of town, a teenage rapper who had managed to go on a run, record a song bragging about it, and then get arrested the same day it dropped. It was, overall, objectively speaking, an quote-unquote intriguing story. Nothing to glorify, but you understand what I'm saying. It was just one of those stories that sounded something out of a movie, despite the allegations against him. Now, the song The Race ended up blowing up extremely fast, and the music video shot during his...
I feel like, yeah, it's hot for like a second to just, talk about this nigga and, be amazed by what he did. Oh, he's a hard ass nigga. He's a true gangster. But like, people were so mesmerized by that story, they don't know the true, shit like people actually went through. People lost a father, a son, and they lost a family member, and goes for those two guys. And people also almost lost a an old relative at the time, and that really fucking sucks. What if your grandpa was grandpa or father was robbed by some guy randomly, and they just left in the pool of blood? That's, you gotta really think of how that really feels, bro.
Time on a run showed him flashing stacks of cash, throwing up gang signs. Fans rallied behind the Free Tay-K movement. Major artists co-signed him. The song charted on the Billboard Hot 100. To the internet, he wasn't just another rapper anymore. He was a teenage outlaw turned rap sensation. But while the world was busy glorifying Tay-K's story, he was behind bars with a much different reality waiting for him, because after all, he was involved in a whole lot of violent activities. And on July 2019, it caught up to him as he finally stood trial for the murder of Ethan Walker. Tay-K, just 16 at the time of the killing, was being tried as an adult. He faced charges of murder and 3 counts of aggravated robbery, tied to the same home invasion. He was facing a possible sentence of anywhere from 5 years all the way up to life in prison.
Jesus.
Eventually, he was sentenced to 55 years in prison. However, he still had the Mark Saldivar case looming over him, so his legal saga wasn't over yet, not even close. And then last year in April 2025, nearly 8 years after the shooting took place, his second trial finally began. 24 years old at the time, Tay-K was facing a capital murder charge, and if convicted, he was staring down the possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. Prosecutors argued that Tay-K had lured
they really trying to make this nigga look innocent as fuck, bro. Trying to make this nigga take a little smart approach, wear some glasses, well, you gotta have that, that fucking court appearance. You gotta look professional and everything. But they really try to lay it on thick, but it didn't work. He already had 55 years.
3-year-old Mark Anthony Saldivar into a trap. They claimed he invited Saldivar under the impression it was just a photo shoot, but once inside the car, Tay-K and his associates and left him to die in a Chick-fil-A parking lot. The defense pushed back hard, calling the case flimsy and unreliable. Tay-K's attorney said the entire case leaned too heavily on questionable witnesses, people they claimed had personal agendas against him. But in the end, none of that held up. Tay-K was convicted of murder for a second time and sentenced to 80 years in prison. Tay-K's first chance at parole is August 7, 2049, and his projected release date, according to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, is August 8, 2099.
Well, this is a whole thing of, being a product of the environment, bro. Growing up without any good, role models in your life. Parents wasn't really shit. Sister tried, and it just wasn't enough. This dude didn't really have any good friends around him. Friends ended up in jail, and they might end up, they're gonna end up out before him. They're gonna be old, but they're gonna end up, out before this nigga, because he just literally learned and had a little reckless ass thing. Really think he shouldn't have made the race. That probably, he was already going to jail for all of them, but I feel like it was a subtle thing of them not to take, it easy on it. I feel like it was a spit in the face of the justice system. It was actually, because he cut his ankle monitor off. He announced everything, kind of just moved crazy. But this is a sad ass thing about it. But at the end of the day, I don't feel bad, because you got to really think about the victims and all this shit. People lost family members, bro. So it is what it is at the time. But man, let me know what you guys think of that video. Go subscribe and go look at Blackie Speaks original video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to me if you enjoy my reaction. And we are on the road to 600. Catch you guys in the next video.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?